Hey toy fans, Aaron here. Today taking a look at the Vintage Collection release of Emperor Palpatine. First up, a big thanks to Dorkside Toys. They're not a sponsor or anything. If you follow me on Twitter, you have seen that my shipment of these figures, the box they came in was just absolutely crushed in transit, which of course crushed the figures inside the box, and that had absolutely nothing to do with the way they were packaged, but they definitely took care of the situation and got me some carded figures that would look great displayed on the wall. So again, big thanks to Dorkside Toys for taking care of that. On to this review where we've got Emperor Palpatine on that Star Wars Return of the Jedi Vintage Collection card. Great image of the Emperor in the background, and through that blister you see your included action figure, along with his Force Lightning hands in the background and that cane accessory. Here's a look at the back side of the card where you can see he's number 200 in the line. And then for the rest of that upper half of the card, you've got 8 figures being shown off for what's being available, well, right now actually. And the bottom half is all your legal information. And now taking a look at him out of the packaging. Some of this is new, some of this is old. I think overall it is a very good looking figure. His hood is done in molded plastic, has a very nice texture to it. It sits around the figure's head quite well, has a nice drape effect to it. He has some folds and wrinkles sculpted in there, so it certainly has some nice dimension. Down at the bottom, they got a pretty decent sculpt going on for the clasp that holds everything together. And it even has a nice drape effect on the backside as it goes on to the cloth robes that are included. I've said it many times before, and you know, I'm still a little mixed on this one. I am someone who prefers the sculpted plastic robes. I know that's not everyone's cup of tea. You like to have that flexibility with articulation, and in this case, like I said, you're getting best of both worlds. I feel like the look of this robe does mimic what was done for the 2012 Darth Sidious Vintage Collection release, especially in the way that the sleeves have been stitched. And at times I'm not quite a fan of the look of it, but I think if you put the figure in a certain pose, it certainly helps. And that's, as you can see, if you've got one arm straight or, you know, flexed down, then it certainly looks weird to see that sleeve ruffled up. As you can see on his left arm, you know, I got that arm bent up a little more. In the way they've stitched that sleeve to bundle up a little bit, it certainly helps with the overall look. Otherwise, I think the robe has a nice length to it. And for me, like I mentioned, it's just getting pretty borderline on the bulkiness of it. Before I get too much further into the figure, I will say one problem I am having with mine, well, actually I got 2 of them now, so, but both of them, I'm having a hard time getting them to stand up unassisted. While the ankles are able to hinge back and forth, I am not getting any movement in there due to, I believe, the way that the wraps around that boot are sculpted. It is quite possible that the joints on his ankles are just frozen for me. His head was, I think one of his arms were also, so it could be a mix of things here. So you can see an action figure stand helping to keep this guy standing upright. Carrying on though, this outer robe is removable, and that's going to let us get a better look at the head sculpt for this figure, which is all new. And facial expression aside, the sculpting looks fantastic. Some pretty nice painting for the hair. Overall, the texture on the face of his various wrinkles are sculpted very well. Eye painting looks wonderful. And that expression, well, yes, it looks awkward as just Emperor Palpatine standing there. Once you include the Force Lightning hands as the expression that he's meant to have when he's, you know, shooting the lightning bolts out, things start to come together a lot better. Great detailing to his teeth, at least what I can see to my eyes. It looks like you've got some separation of each tooth, kind of dirty in there. One downfall I'd say is the overall coloring of the skin tone on his face seems a little too warm, which is odd. Usually I feel like that's something I'm saying there's not enough of in these figures. Obviously the Emperor was a pretty pale guy. Skin tone on the neck seems a little more closer to what I would expect to see, and certainly more so on the hands. They're a lot more pale there. But as you can see, the face just warms up quite a bit. For the upper half of the figure, the chest and arms, this seems to be a straight pull from that 2012 Darth Sidious release. And for the most part, you know, that doesn't bug me at all. I'm going to have his outer robes on anyways. This is the only time that I'd have them off, so kind of really don't care what it looks like underneath. And the overall sculpting, though, is pretty decent. Basically, it looks like a Sith Jedi costume. So basically just sculpted inner robes. Lots of wrinkling done for the clothing. You can make out some wraps sculpted around each forearm, which still comes out quite well. And then those hands, you know, the coloring looks fantastic. Those appear to be also from that 2012 release. which is just fine. You know, there's great definition to the wrinkling on those hands, especially through the back of the hand. You can really make that detailing out. And then speaking of those hands, I'm just going to hit one of the accessories here, and that is his Force Lightning hands. It's easily interchangeable by just pulling off one hand and then popping the other on. This is a straight pull from the, I forget the year. It's the Last Jedi Target exclusive 3-pack that had the 5 POA, the Emperor, Emperor's Guard, and Luke Skywalker. So it's the same Force Lightning hands we had with that release. This time around, you're getting an upgraded paint job for the hands. Much more skin accurate detail painting being done. There are some bits here and there where that blue is kind of peeking through from the Force Lightning with the color of this plastic that it's actually sculpted as. You know, kind of mixed. In some areas, it just kind of adds to the freakiness of his hands a little bit. So it's not a horrible thing. That's probably going to vary figure to figure, though. Otherwise, you know, I mean, this is not a new gimmick. We've seen it before, but it's still pretty cool. That lightning just kind of coming out of the fingertips, and it helps put into place that face expression of the sculpt even more and makes the overall figure look that much better. Around the waist, you got a decent belt sculpted in, hanging down very low in the front. That part was not done for the 2012 release, and I can't say whether this is a new piece or not. It could certainly be pulled from another figure, which is fine. You know, decent looking black plastic. It's molded in that color. And then you get to the lower half of the figure where now for the rest of his inner robes, you've got that soft fabric. Hangs around the legs nicely. I don't think this piece is overly bulky at all. And then if I just fold that up real quick, you're going to see some decent detailing for the legs. Can't make out the upper thighs, but yeah, it's pretty traditional pant legs. And then you get to the lower parts of the legs, where that is also a straight pull from that 2012 release. Sculpting still looks just fine, though. Lots of wraps being sculpted around the lower parts of his legs. Or maybe that's just part of a boot or something. But anyways, detailing still looks good. And yeah, just, you know, black shoes. As for the articulation, and I'm going to leave them stripped down like this so you can see things much better. But the head is just a ball joint, so it spins all the way around. You can tilt it up and down, move it side to side. Arms raise almost straight up, and then you get your full swivel all the way around. Hinge and swivel at the elbows, and then those interchangeable hands, so you're only getting swiveling there. Full swivel at the waist. Your legs come straight out, and pretty much straight back. Bend and swivel at the knees. And then I mentioned you do have some hinge moving at the ankles, but nothing's happening on my figure. But you can still swivel those feet all the way around. And then for his final accessory, Emperor would not be complete without his cane. This exact mold was also used for that Target exclusive 3-pack. And I should say he had a single carded release on the Solo line also, as a Force Link figure. And it's quite possible the cane was used for other figures. I mean, it's a great sculpt. Certainly looks very much identifiable as being the Emperor's cane. Why change up when you've already got something good going? So, you know, keep using it for all I care. Overall, looks great in the gloss black plastic. Fits relatively well in his hands. You know, it's a smidge loose, but once you set it in there, for the most part, I think it's going to stay all right. Guess that's really all I have to say about that little piece of plastic. So yeah, overall for me, you know, if you couldn't tell already, I really like this figure. I wish his soft robes were not as bulky as they are, especially around the sleeves. But it's getting a little bit nitpicky, I think. I love that they stayed with the molded plastic for his hood. And while the facial expression on the figure does look weird, once you add in those Force Lightning hands, I think it really takes it to another level. It looks great when the figure as a whole is presented the way that facial expression was meant to be placed with. You know, it's not like the weird smiling Luke Skywalker we got years ago where he's just got the big grin for no reason. So that's where I'm going to end this one. As always, I'd love to know what your thoughts are on this figure in the comments section below. And thanks for watching.